Alright, ladies and gentlemen, what's up? Welcome back. Game number 2 here between ATN Socke and Happy. So another TVP, game number 2 in this best of 3 series between these two players. This time we are on Tal Darum Altar. And yeah, as we saw last game, Happy did manage to win. Basically what happened, a quick little synopsis, if you will. Socke opened up with some Phoenix harassment, which wasn't nearly as effective as he would really like it to be. And then he followed up with a 4-gate push. So kind of a really all-in aggressive early game play. Not super early game, but you get my drift, if you will. But yeah, that's basically what happened. Now, unfortunately, Socke didn't even manage to take out the Expo of Happy, because Happy did have an Expo up when he initially made that big push. And without taking out that Expo and without doing much damage at all, Happy was pretty much easily able to go for a counterattack. So yes, this time we are on Tal Darum Altar. So as you can see here, natural, of course, right outside of the main. Going to be the case for both players, and then they have access to this third over here. You just got to get rid of these destructible rocks. But that's pretty much about it. Not a whole lot coming on for either player. Looking to do pretty normal stuff. It's just way too early in the game to actually even tell. We're only 1:30 into the game right now. We can see the barrack coming down. Expect a refinery at around 13 over there as well. And actually, we should be seeing a gateway from Socke, but no, actually, Socke queuing up quite a bit of workers right here, keeping those resources low and still not getting a gateway. He's at 14 supplies, even going to get to 15, I think, and still no gateway. So actually, it looks like Socke is going to be going for a fast expo. You can see accumulating up those resources, and yes, he does in fact have that next probe rallied right here to his expansion. So there you go, Socke going to be going for a very, very early expo. This could be incredibly dangerous depending on what Happy decides to do. If Happy decides to go with anything relatively resembling early game aggression, he could do tremendous amounts of damage to Socke, so it's really going to come down to the scouting. And with that said, look at this, Happy scouting the wrong direction, wrong in the sense that it is not exactly where Socke is. And this is actually going to work really well on Socke's half, because as you can see, Socke has just now started his gateway, just getting out that assimilator. Obviously no Cybernex core, because you need that gateway to finish before then. So Socke is going to be incredibly vulnerable the first 5-6 minutes of the game before he starts to get any sort of a decent force. So again, depending on what Happy decides to do in terms of a build, he can actually do quite a bit of damage. Now, I said it comes down to scouting, because up until this point, Happy still has a lot of options. He could drop a factory right now, or he could drop a second barracks and get a tech lab. There's a lot he can do, but you can see they're going for that factory. Now let's take a look at the SCV Scout. SCV Scout just hit the second base right now. If he had actually gone, instead of here for that first position, if he had actually gone over here and caught Socke's expansion, I would have almost fully expected him to not go for that factory, get a second and possibly even a third barracks, and push out with some early Marines and Marauders. But simply because of the fact that this SCV Scout is going to actually catch Socke's base dead last, he's not going to have that information early enough. And again, he's already started to tech up. He's already made his decision. You can see that second refinery coming on through as well. So going to be going for something very, very Vespian heavy. I'm expecting the starport, because of that, to come up right after this. But yeah, it's just, there you go. So there you have it. Socke pretty much got lucky. He was able to get up this expo, and at this point in the game, it's too late for Happy to actually push out with any sort of early game aggression. He's just way past, he's way beyond that point. And as you can see right now, Happy is moving in. He's finally coming to the realization that, hey, wow, Socke really wasn't prepared early game. And yeah, he just has to deal with it. Now at this point, knowing that expo is up and building, he needs to kind of make a decision as to what he's going to do. He obviously has to do some damage, or he has to expand himself. The fact that he's already got a starport coming up, he does have mining from both refineries, it's going to lead me to believe that his decision is going to be, alright, I just need to push out and do some sort of damage, because otherwise Socke is going to pull way too far ahead in this game. We can't see Hellion moving out. It's actually going to get probably a free kill here. It needs a micro back. There we go. It's actually pulling back with that SCV over there as well, but he's got some pretty good opportunity here, do a lot of damage. He's going to take out that probe. Yes, he does. Also burns that shrubbery there in the corner. Needs to pull away from that stalker, though. That stalker is a little bit too dangerous for him to actually properly deal with. There was a little hot swap, putting that starport on the tech lab, and there we go. Cloak Banshees making their way on through. Take a look over here inside of the base of Socke. Socke does have a robo coming out, so he's actually going to be prepared for those Cloak Banshees with that observer. And we do have this one Hellion moving around. Actually has a really good opportunity to do a lot of damage, but no probes pulling back. But there you go. Still managed to drop 2. Now at the same time, taking a look up here, we can see Socke does have an attack force ready to go ahead and push in. First he wants to deal with this Hellion, so there we go. Hellion is taken care of, trying to push on in, but as we can see, Happy does have up this bunker, but oh no, the Stalker is within range to shoot that factory, so going to start going to work on that right now, but no, pulling back. That's precisely what Happy actually needs to do. So where's that? There's that first Banshee right now. Not a whole lot going on. We can see that Banshee was rallied right here to the corner, but again, look at this. The observer sitting right there, fully prepared to catch any cloak unit that may push in the back, which obviously at this point is only going to be the Banshee against a Terran player. We can see Happy ready for his expo as well. And this is what he's going to try to do. Oh, actually, he is engaging with that Stalker. There you go. He's going to try to do some damage here with his Banshee, and then he wants to expand himself because, again, he knows that Socke has this expo up, so he knows he needs to do something about it. So here we go. First Banshee moving on forward right now. 0 kills at this point, but let's see what he does as he heads on into the mineral line. It is going to be 2 shots per worker. 1, 2. There you go. He does already have 2 kills. There is a third as well. We do have those Stalkers, but actually the Banshee is going to just try to stay in for as many kills as he can and then pull back right before he does manage to take out, but oh, very, very close. Managed to sneak away with just 10 HP, and that was an incredibly dangerous situation there for Happy, but Happy obviously knew the precise time to when he needed to push out. There were only 2 Stalkers there, so he wasn't overly concerned. We can see 4 gateways coming on through right now for Socke. He does also have that armor upgrade coming for his Protoss ground army. Do have that expansion, as we mentioned earlier, coming up. 3 racks, so going to be moving into Bioheavy after this. Let's see, I think it's just going to repair this Banshee. Actually, probably going to move out with these 2 to try to continue up some aggression. So just moving them as one group here, moving them in tandem into the mineral line to get that repair. And there is that expo, so going to change that into an orbital command, and then it's going to be lifted off and floating right on over to this expo. Let's take a look over here for Socke. Still coming through, of course, with that armor upgrade. Still just those 4 gates and that robo right now. At this point, it looks like he is just working on his economy. That's pretty much all he's doing. He has actually set up shop with a couple cannons here around his expo. He wants to be able to keep his observer over here and just use those cannons for cloak defense as well as some additional damage. Second observer is moving across the board. This is going to be checking for any attacks or any sort of aggression. Actually, he does manage to catch those Banshees, so there you have it. The Zealot on that Zelnaga was able to catch those Banshees coming on through, so at this point, Socke is fully prepared. Looks like we did have a little bit of lag there during this game. We can see right now reforming that wall from over here to this position so he can, of course, defend this expo. But here we go, moving on in. Needs to be very, very careful. One thing to realize, of course, is these photon cannons, their cloak detection range is actually further than their actual fire range. So just because you're actually out of the firing vicinity of these photon cannons doesn't mean you're out of that cloak detection. So that's something to definitely be wary of when it comes to cannons, missile turrets, spore crawlers, any sort of detecting unit. And speaking of detecting units, we do have this observer here spotting that expo of Happy. He knows that Happy does have this expo up and running. So, but even with that said, even though Socke knows that Happy does have that expo up, he also realizes that, hey, I had my expo up way, way faster than he did, and I am working on my third. As you can see over here, Socke planning to get that third right now, and actually that Banshee is going to be scouting for that. He's going to be moving on out right now, and he's going to spot it. So there you have it. Now fully aware of the fact that Socke is going to be moving into a third, and that's going to kind of inform what Happy decides to do. Let's talk about choices. Well, he could just go ahead and try for an expansion. We can see right now just about finished with that stim pack and combat shield, so he could try to also go for a push. He does have this Raven up here for cloak detection as well as that point defense drone. Against those Stalkers, that can be incredibly effective. We can see here now Socke has come up with this expo. A little bit more harass coming down. This Banshee's actually sitting on 11 kills right now, so was able to do a little bit of work on those probes. But what I wanted to mention was that Happy definitely has an opportunity, especially now that his upgrades are up, to actually push out and try to do some damage, unless he's going to be coming up for that next expo himself, but I don't see that building as of yet. And here we go. So right now Happy is going to be pushing on forward, and there is that expo as well. Now Socke moving across with his observer just in the nick of time to catch that. As you can see, he is spotting Happy coming up with that expo. He also saw these guys going for these rocks, but again, realize Socke has been basically one step ahead of Happy this entire game. Get up that super fast expo. In all honesty, he didn't take too much damage from that Hellion and or Banshee. It really wasn't too much loss. Let's take a look. Okay, well, Happy has killed quite a bit, so never mind. Maybe I'm just full of crap. I guess he did kill a lot of workers, 13 workers, and then I think that next unit's probably a Zealot. I believe that's what it was. So yeah, 13 workers all told, but still, even with that being the case, with 13 workers killed, remember, Socke had this expo up so fast. He was in such a tremendous position. Let's take a look at the units there. We can see 58 probes as opposed to the 46. And if we take a look at the Army tab as well, Socke is still ahead of Happy right now. So Socke is definitely in a good position. Even with the losses he took, he was able to overcompensate for that basically because he had that expo up so quickly. But the Banshee still going to work here. And Happy just continuing up this Banshee harassment as much as possible. This Banshee now sitting on 15 kills. And right now, Socke has to wait for that observer to come into play. Here comes that observer. There's the blink. taking out that Banshee once and for all. He had enough with that. We can see Mobius Reactor coming out, so we do have a Ghost Academy. Yes, we do, up in play. So we're going to be seeing some Ghosts into play, and of course those with their EMPs are going to be incredibly effective at being able to uncloak observers. Also, of course, the EMP taking out the shields of any units once a big battle does eventually come. Realize with ghost play, usually you don't want to get too many ghosts. You have to be a little bit careful in terms of numbers, just because ghosts are so expensive and relatively fragile in comparison to other units that would cost as much as a ghost does. We can take a look here right in the racks, and you can see 150 Vespian and 150 minerals. So that is quite a hefty cost for a ground unit, especially once something like Colossus comes into play. And we can see right now Robo Bay is up and running. We do, of course, have full upgrades here from this Twilight Council Charge and Blink, and those Colossus making their way into play right now, just sitting on the 1. But we do also have that Thermal Lance coming up, level 3 armor upgrades and level 2 ground upgrades. So very macro focused right now. Both players basically just working on their upgrades. We can see level 2 of both the armor and the weapon coming through here for the infantry of Happy. And Happy does finally have up that third, changing that into a planetary fortress as well with this missile turret to grab any observers and or Dark Templar. Happy looks like he may be in the position right now to actually try to move out and do a little bit of aggression. Now, this is going to be more poking and prodding than it is actually going to knock out his opponent. He just kind of wants to see if he can do a little bit of damage. That is his main focus. But actually, no, he's going to be pulling back here and spreading out his units. Now, the spread, you're going to ask, why is he doing the spread? There's nothing really going on. This is just in case an engagement does come through with Colossus. He will be prepared for it. His units won't be bunched up and taking so much damage from the Thermal Lance of that Colossus. He does, of course, know that that is in play. So he's fully aware of what he's up against right now. Taking a look over here for Socke. Now we do see this 4th base is up and running right now, and he's going to be starting to pull ahead quite a bit. One Zealot spotting the edge base over here. The point of this is to see if Happy does try to basically hide an expo here. His next logical expo would be like pretty much in this position or over here. Most likely over here in all honesty. But just in case he tries to hide one off in the corner, Socke would be fully aware of that. Liking the placement of the sensor tower, really like to use sensor towers in my personal gameplay. I think it's a kind of an underused building, and it's just a very nice security rim to have. It obviously doesn't actually do anything in terms of defending you, but it gives you that knowledge, it gives you that vision, which you otherwise may lack, and that's something that can be very effective, essentially. He's going to see when the push is coming, he's going to know what direction it's coming from, and he's going to know, as such, how to respond that much sooner. We can see Vikings starting to come into play, pumping out these double Vikings here from the starport with that reactor. Clearly that is going to be used to deal with these Colossus. It looks like we're going to be pretty Colossus heavy. He does already have 3 on the board. He's coming out with the 4th right now, and a bunch more Robo, so definitely going to be going incredibly Colossus heavy. Also possibly prepared to make a switch to Immortals just in case. We have a couple DT coming into play here as well. Now obviously we've seen Happy is fully prepared for DT. That DT is moving across here, but we do have that missile turret as well as this planetary fortress, and we do have the Raven here with the main army of Happy. So Happy's going to have no problem really dealing with DT harassment, most likely. Nice cutting here, going down on the Zealot. Zealot's going to be taken out, taking 1 or 2 unnecessary shots there on that Marauder, who was obviously just paying attention to something else. No harassment going down from either player right now as of yet. DT still spotting this base, not actually moving in, and both players just kind of testing their opponent, if you will. I suppose that's the word I would use. They're both kind of mounting up and getting ready for the possibility of attack. It's kind of a tentative plan here. What am I going to do? I'll just chill out in the middle. But look at that scan, catching those DT, moving on over. So he's going to have no problem grabbing that. And that DT, again, is not much of a threat at all. Let's take a look at that planetary fortress, grabbing that very quickly there. So again, as mentioned, Happy is fully prepared. Now, something to realize right now is what Socke is doing. He's kind of just trying to maintain as much control as possible of the middle of the map, and look at what an advantage this is giving him. We can see Socke already on 4 bases. He's got a 5th coming up right here, and this is a really big advantage. Now, the big danger is depending on how much damage Happy can do once he does push out. Taking a look, Socke is at a big advantage. Taking a look at the actual armor tab, we are 114 to 116 though, so a lot of stock supply right now is in fact workers, but this is very dangerous right now. Both players mounting up to hit the other one. Very close. Taking out that observer there because of that Raven detecting that, and a little bit of unnecessary losses there. Losing that one Marine that was actually moving up the wrong side. You want to stick with the main army. If you're a Marine, I would suggest sticking with the bulk of the army as opposed to just walking into Colossus. That's a dangerous situation. Look at that. Beautiful scan. Catching precisely where the units here of Socke are. Now remember, this is really going to be a dangerous situation. He needs to make sure he does get some EMP. Nice EMP going down there in the middle. He wants to get some other EMPs. And nice point defense drones as well. Raven moving forward unnecessarily. I say that a lot, but anyways, this is not good at all for Socke. Socke is losing so many forces. Viking's going to be dropping down this Colossus so quickly, and look how many Marines and Marauders are left, and this is very, very dangerous right now. Happy doing so much damage. Took out the entire army there of Socke. Socke back at 61, though. Was able to reinforce very, very quickly. He does have the units over here, and I think he's got a ton. Yes, he does. Has quite a bit of warp gates here. Look at that, 2 full rows and then 2 additional ones right there. Now, this is, of course, because of the fact that he is on 4 mining bases. This one's all but dwindled, but he does have this one up here, which is just about to get saturated. You can see pulling workers right on over to that line, but that was very nice for Happy. Happy winning that engagement was a big, big thing for him. He absolutely needed that. That was 110% necessary because of the fact that he is really so far behind economically. Taking a look, we can see Socke at a big, big advantage right now. It might seem small, but at this point in the game, and given how high those numbers are, that is certainly a big advantage. So what Happy really needs to do at this point is he pretty much needs to just secure this expo, get it up and running, and try to catch back up in economy. Now, we do see a lot of units scattered all over the place. We have a pylon over here, another pylon over here, observer spawning over here. So Socke doing a good job of getting a vision of the map and actually moving on in and going to be hitting this expo right here. This is very dangerous, but no, the major army here of Happy moving in and able to mop up what units are there. Now, he does have this one DT, but it doesn't really matter. I'm just expecting a scan. There is the scan. Going to be able to drop down that DT very quickly, and there you have it. So DT threat was nullified. We can see units of Socke moving across the middle. Like I mentioned, basically, Happy just needs to try to take advantage of the situation that he's in currently. Winning that battle was absolutely huge for him, but look at this. Socke blinking forward aggressively with some Blink Stalkers, but very dangerous. EMP's going down on absolutely everything. So much damage. Lots of Vikings going to have no problem dealing with these Colossus, but actually, I'm not sure that Happy has enough to deal with this. There's more Colossus coming forward, although those are going to get dropped. Okay, never mind. There are enough Marines and Marauders here, specifically the Marauder, I would have to say. There's more than enough Marauders here to deal with this, but we do have some High Templar moving down, storming so much of that bio army of Happy. Happy taking lots of damage. A couple more Warpins coming in, and Socke is actually going to have enough to push his back, so we are seeing Happy move back right now. He realizes he's not in a good position. Happy has lost a majority of his Vikings to those Blink Stalkers. With those Colossus no longer in play, Blink Stalker is going to take advantage of this good opportunity, but look at this. Bio Ball rolling back in from the other side here for Happy. Going to manage to mop up all of these forces pretty much no problem. A nice spread going down to try to avoid any possible High Templar that may come as reinforcements. Blinking back, there are those High Templar. And wow, quite intense, I would have to say. Players just pushing back and forth and back and forth. Now, I really like what Socke is doing here and having these pylon placements all over the place. And what this really does for him is, like we saw there, allows him to reinforce quickly once any battles do actually commence. And we do have this one high ground pylon, but this is very dangerous right now. Happy's right on the edge, and he's actually going to catch these. And this is pretty much just some free kills here. Socke losing these, unfortunately, without doing any sort of retaliation whatsoever. But again, I really like this pylon placement of Socke now. Happy would be properly advised to actually try to move around and catch those, but I'm not so sure that he's fully aware of those pylons. Okay, so he does see those pylons, but he's a little tentative to actually push out onto them because he's worried that the force of Socke may be close there and try to catch him off guard and cut him off, and that could be quite dangerous indeed. TT moving down. Now, we do have the possibility of an EMP to take that out, and there we go. EMP dropping down, but it actually missed the DT, unfortunately. He's going to be forced to scan the DT. There we go. So there's a second EMP. And that, of course, gets rid of that cloak there on that cloaked unit and allows him to take it out, no problem. And there we go. Like I mentioned, this is precisely what Happy needs to do. He needs to take out these pylons. He doesn't want these sitting up here for too very long. And look at this. Happy going to be coming out with a few more expos. Let's take a look if he's aware of these expos over here. No, he's not. So he doesn't know at this point where Socke is in terms of number of expos. But as we see here, he does have quite a bit coming up. So both players just continuing to work in the late game. Now, we do see Socke is just maintaining this bio-heavy build. He's got those ghosts coming out. Also going to be coming out with some nukes here as well, and looks like Socke is just going to be doing this mix here of High Templar and Colossus, and a good EMP, 2 of them going down here. Does take a storm onto all of his ghosts, and oh no, those ghosts getting shredded. Needs to be very careful with those. That is not a unit you want to lose, like we've discussed in the past. So very expensive those ghosts are, and you need to be very careful. One High Templar sitting on the high ground there. EMP taking that out very quickly, plus a couple of shots. That was pretty intense. That thing just pretty much disappeared. Do want to see Happy, of course, take out this pylon. He is actually aware that something is there. He does see that little red, so there we go. Moving on down, going to be able to take out that pylon. We really haven't seen any continuous harass here from either player. Not a lot of drops going on. We saw that early Banshee play in the beginning from Happy, but since then, not a whole lot. Both players pretty much just kind of dancing around in the middle. Let's take another look here at the Army tab. We can see pretty much about dead even. Happy with that slight advantage, 123 to the 111 right now. These few stalkers losing their life very quickly in the middle. Look at this, a small task force coming out here for Socke, trying to take out the Expo of Happy. I don't think it's going to do too much damage. Going to disrupt mining for a few moments, but we can see the main force here of Happy moving on down, and nice feedback going down on a couple of those ghosts, taking them out very quickly. One Marauder going to chill back to try to take out this pylon, but the main force here, oh my gosh, the Marauder does manage to get away. Is he going to stim up to pull him back home? Yes, he is. That is unbelievable. No, okay, never mind. He does get caught. And nice little defensive nuke. I really like that there from Happy. Happy dropping the nuke to actually defend his troops to stop the main force here of Socke from pushing in. You can see he did, of course, drop that with a little quick cancellation. These DT being continuously harassed. I would really like to see Happy actually come out with another Raven, but another Storm going down the major bio army. This is really not good. Socke does have Happy in a bad position. He's on the low ground, but what's more is that he's actually trapped from multiple angles, but Socke doesn't quite have enough to actually make full effective use of that. Happy has been forced basically to save most of his scans here for any engagements because there have been so many DT on the board. Those ghosts, yes, again, they can EMP to get rid of those DT cloak, but that's a lot of energy wasted that you pretty much rather use during an engagement or for snipes even. So that's basically the reason behind that he's been saving up some scans because it is kind of dangerous to basically rely on those EMPs just to get rid of one DT cloak, because then a big fight's going to come and your ghosts are going to have no energy to do any EMPing whatsoever, and that's when you need them the most, is during any big engagements. Happy looks like he is moving out right now, at the same time dropping another Expo, so both players pretty much fully saturating their half of the map. We just still have this one Expo that needs to be dropped here, and it looks like Socke is getting prepared to work on that. EMP going down, dropping down the one unit, getting rid of that, nice, very nice, getting rid of that Observer there as well. And actually these units are going to get caught in transit. This is not good. Happy's going to be losing a lot of ghosts here. Very dangerous situation. Does manage to drop that cloak there. Very nice play from him. I don't think there are any Observers here, and these ghosts are actually free to go to work here on these units, pushing in from the other side as well, dealing with some storms there. Unfortunately, a nice little placement there of that nuke, going to force the units to push back into those Marauders, and these Marauders are going to do very well, but needs to be a little bit careful. Doesn't want to nuke his own units. He's going to cancel that. No, I guess he's a little too preoccupied with the micro over here. Did end up losing that ghost, I believe. Pulling up from the backside here as well, trying to do as much damage as possible. Marauders are going to be forced to push back, losing those medevacs, unfortunately, as well, and these Marauders are all but gone right now. But let's take a look here at the production of Happy. What does he have? He's got quite a few barracks right here, churning out units. We can see he's floating a lot of resources. Keep in mind, though, he was at pretty much 200 supply cap for quite some time. A couple Marauders chilling in the base over here from Socke. Socke, there we go, finally putting down some units to deal with that. Still, I haven't really seen any drops. Maybe I just missed them, but I haven't really seen any drops, and I haven't seen much base harass besides just big move outs with the army. We can see a couple ghosts here sitting in the middle, also that one Marine and another Marine sitting over here, and a small little force here from Socke. I guess it's more than small. Where's the rest of his army? He's got 116 army supply. Would really like to see where that is. I can't imagine that is all right here. He does have some in the main or something. Okay, so there we go. We get some Colossus sitting over here. I guess we have units kind of scattered all throughout, so I guess that would make sense. Would like to see them all come together with one big Happy death ball and try to push out and do some damage. Happy reinforcing, still sticking so ghost heavy. Look at that, 6 ghosts right there. Really loving those EMPs, and those defensive nukes have been phenomenal here. And the DT harassment continues here from Socke. Socke going to be trying to take out these cloak detections here on these missile turrets, or try to just pick off and do as much damage as possible. We do have the force moving on down here from Happy, and actually going to get vision of the high ground. There it is. See you later, DT. Socke preparing for an attack. He obviously knows that the main army of Happy is over there, but no, he's actually going to be moving right into the Expo, and this is basically what you need to do late game. You need to do what you can to try to do a bunch of harassment. Nice nuke going down here at this Expo over here, but you need to try to take out what do you need to do? You need to take out the economy as much as possible. Getting hit from the backside, though. I don't think Happy does have enough to deal with this, unfortunately, and that one Colossus getting sniped down from all of those ghosts. Big EMP going down, though, taking out a lot of shields at the same time. Ball pushing in from the other side, and this is not looking good right now for Socke. Socke is in danger of losing these units. We have the High Templar going down. There are the storms, as expected. Quite a bit of resistance here from Socke, but not quite enough. We can see, of course, Happy being so Marauder heavy, so very effective at taking out those ground forces. But as you can see, Happy did lose this base. That is very, very big. We did see those nukes go down over here. It looks like we're going to be seeing some photon cannons being placed there to try to defend against that in the future. Would even like to see a couple photon cannons over here. Just take 1 or 2 at your bases to kind of deal with that and be able to detect. It's obviously hard to have observers everywhere on the map. That's very difficult. That's a very difficult prospect, basically. So being able to have even that static that static defense cloak detection. There we go at your expansion. Sorry guys, this is a long game. That static defense cloak detection at your expansions it's going to be a really good decision later game, especially in the late game. Even professional players do start to pull up those resources simply because you sit at supply cap and you get your upgrades and you try to get more production buildings, but eventually you're going to have extra resources until you have to re-up your army after a big engagement. Still, those DT absolutely everywhere and continuing to go to work. Again, just 1 Raven would be really nice here from Happy. Happy engaging those Delots head on. Doesn't really care that he's taking a lot of damage. He does have quite a bit of medevacs to try to deal with this. But oh no, Socke did manage to take out the Expo over here. And this is going to be a little bit of a base trade here. Both players going to be losing 1 or 2 bases in this engagement. Actually, it looks like just this one's going to go down. Where is that main force? There we go. There's the main force of Socke. So going to be pushing across to try to cut these guys off as they try to pull back home. We can see Happy trying to come up with that base over here. He did lose this one over here. Unfortunately, I believe it got taken out fully. I'm not fully sure there. Stim going down, going to be trying to chase down these units as they are trying to push back. Needs to be careful of those High Templars though. Big storms again continuing up. Responded with an EMP there, but Blink Stalker's pushing forward offensively. That's a little bit dangerous considering how many Marauders here. Another Stim going down, but there are a lot of Immortals, and those Immortals are absolutely going to tear through those Marauders. Marauders need to be very careful. Marines need to try target fire with those Immortals and that storm. It's actually very, very dangerous for those. Wow, nice. That was a defensive storm there, stopping the Mirage from pushing up into his army. I really like that, in all honesty. But anyways, what I was saying was those Immortals can just do so much damage to those Marauders, and with that threat of Blanket Storm as well, it's just a very daunting situation as a Terran player when you have that switch from heavy Colossus and you have a lot of Vikings, and then he just goes straight heavy Immortals as a response. Very, very dangerous situation indeed. So as you saw, guys, both players did manage to take out one of their opponent's bases there, and that's, I mean, that's pretty much precisely what you want to do. Come the late stages of the game, when you're pushing 30-plus minute games and moving into 40, 50-minute games, however long it may be, the real focus for you is going to be the maintaining map control as much as is humanly possible and trying to hurt the economy of your opponent. That's kind of the biggest thing. That's a primary focus. We can see right now, actually, Socke going to be trying to move out with these DT and try to just do a little bit of damage. He wants to first, of course, take out these turrets and then try to work into the mineral line. It's going to be hard with this turret within range of that fortress, but anything you can do, basically, to try to disrupt and stop any resource gathering from your opponent. Then eventually there comes a time where if you can even get into the main base of your opponent and just go to work on those production buildings, that's a real big advantage if you can actually manage to do that. But besides that, the main focus is just going to be map control and denying expos, and that's all you're going to focus on. We can see right now Happy's moving down with this Marine just to scout out this expo, see what's going on. We've got that same situation over here for Socke. Socke is sitting with this Stalker to see when Happy does eventually try to push out, because Happy's going to want to move out there. He does, of course, want to continue up these expoing, and look at this, just continue up this harassment, and besides drop, besides warp-ins or storming or anything like that, it's just, again, all about disrupting the economy. That's your main focus. Now, something else I want you to pay attention to here as well is that you can see Socke is attacking here with these forces, but look at the response here. Happy's pulling back his entire army. Now, the reason I'm focusing on this, the reason I'm mentioning this is because how is this not an ideal time for Socke to just move out and start hitting expos, or even just move into the main and, like I mentioned, start plugging away at those production buildings. I mean, again, look, this entire army of Happy, and this is the kind of thing that you can, feasibly actually get away with. We can start now moving down, and look at this, no, Ghost going to be nuking the expo here. Let's see if Socke does manage to catch it in time. He does want to make sure he pulls off the line. Any losses are losses you do not want at all, and there we go, pulling off the line just in time. Going to be taking a little bit of damage just to the shields here. Going to be losing that one cannon, as you saw there, and a little bit of damage to that pylon as well. We can see Socke moving out with his units across the middle right now, and here we go. Main force moving around and Happy as well. We do have that one Ghost cloak right there. Going to be actually dropping that EMP on that DT, and that's going to force him away, and looks like we're going to be having that one Marine stay here for Happy. Wouldn't be too surprised if we actually saw continuous ghost harassment here. Trying to drop those nukes can actually be very, very effective late game. It forces your opponent to basically keep an eye on what they have for resource gathering. The other thing too is that you can actually mix it up and eventually go into the main and maybe drop a bunch of nukes here on these gateways. Killing off a bunch of pylons is another good thing you can do if your opponent has pylons clustered up. Obviously Socke a little bit too good for that. He isn't going to keep all his pylons in one big cluster for that very reason. KenZy main force right now moving out across the board for Happy. He's going to continue to check those expos. Both players having a hard time of actually moving into that next expo right now. It does look like a slight advantage, though, is going to Socke right now. He does seem to have 3 mining bases. Oh, never mind. We do actually have 3 mining bases here as well for Happy. So there you go. Both players pretty much even right now. A few resources here left for Socke, but not a lot. And again, this is all Happy's going to do. He's just going to try to keep this up and try to make sure no expos go down over here. You can't see moving out with the main force just to check it here. Now, as I just mentioned, if you can catch your opponent's force out of position and push up on their main, that's going to be really good. Now, at the same time, you don't want to just go for a full-on base trade because they can do the same thing to you. But again, right now, I mean, if Happy can see, Socke can see right now where Happy is. Look at that; he's fully aware of where Happy is. So he's also fully aware he can do 2 things: he can push into the main, he can push into one of these expos, or he can try to cut him off. But pretty much just seeing a dance from both players, neither one being too aggressive right now, just kind of dancing around and trying to take out that economy. There has been continuous DT harass, and we've been seeing Happy force to use those EMPs, and there we go. Here comes that engagement finally. Lots of EMPs going down. We can see pretty much no shields here from Socke. Socke going to be losing a lot of units here because of that mass EMP. Look at how effective Heavy Marauder is against these ground forces, and there are enough Vikings here, plus these Marauders, and he's going to be able to force back the units of Socke. Socke was in a little bit of danger of actually losing his entire force there. You're going to see him back here. Going to be forced to warp in as much as possible to try to re-up his army and get a little bit closer to where Happy is. You can see Happy with that slight advantage right now. Tentatively, he's kind of getting ready to push out. Both players producing. We do have 3. I'm loving all of the EMPs going down. We do have 3 Colossus coming on through right now, and then any additional warp-ins once he does eventually push through. But here we go. Moving on down with these High Templars as well. Going to expect some storms to go down sometime very soon. There aren't any more ghosts here in play. There we go. Finally coming down with the storm. We're seeing a nice spread of units here, but it doesn't look like Happy has enough. He's going to drop that 1 Colossus. Does only have a few Marauders left right now, plus these Medevacs going to be forced to push back from these charge lots as well as the rest of the force here from Socke. So Socke did manage to mop up what was left there. Also seeing that feedback go down on the medevac, doing a little bit of damage and, of course, draining it of its energy. And this is actually a really good time right now for Socke to try to pull out and try to get this expo, because he doesn't want to forget that all-important thing, which is maintaining your economy, trying to keep that strong economy. Obviously, huge advantage right now is sitting on so many resources. Let's take a look at that income tab. And Socke is definitely at a pretty big advantage right now economically. The main reason for that is because we can see right now Happy is missing this mining base and this mining base, so he's definitely much further behind. Socke does have pretty much everything but this one up, and here we go, finally getting ready to take that one as well. Does look like Happy. Okay, never mind. I thought he was getting prepared to push over there, and he really does make sure he wants to. He would ideally like to have those 3 mining bases at a time. He does have these 2 command centers ready and rocking to go. He just basically needs to get rid of the destructible rocks so he can actually go ahead and move on into that. Now, going to be merging his forces here between these 2 groups and making for one big bio ball of death, plus a little, I think there are still some more ghosts in there. Yes, there are. So still sticking with that composition. Pretty heavy Marauder with a bunch of ghosts, some Marines, and a lot of medevacs there as well. It's been working actually pretty well for him with some really nice unit control. He's been able to pull it off, and lots of losses here from Socke. Socke just pushing back without retaliating whatsoever. He didn't want to get caught off guard too much. Those EMPs are very, very dangerous. There are so many ghosts here, but look at them get absolutely shredded there by that Colossus. But needs to be very careful with this Colossus. Doesn't want to stand too close to those heavy Marauders. That, of course, is a very dangerous situation. Probes trying to transfer down, getting completely caught off guard in transit, and Happy taking out a lot of workers. And that was actually, as small as that was a pretty big victory, because he's going to force the cancellation now of this base. Socke has pretty much no chance right now. He's going to be forced to cancel that. But again, as we see here, Happy still hasn't got up this expo, so maybe he's not that far behind. I do see where is that nuke going down? The nuke's going down somewhere. I'm going to completely miss it, aren't I? There is a nuke going. There it is. Just a defensive nuke. So Socke trying to defend himself. Didn't want to get pushed up against there, basically. That was the whole point of that. Do have a bunch of SCVs transferring on down. Needs to be careful not to get caught by the main force here of Socke. Socke getting scanned right now. Happy's going to push right into it, taking lots of storms, plus that Zealot charge with the Colossus all the way in the back. And oh no, Happy going to be losing absolutely everything here, trying to pick up some of his units to head back. We did see those feedbacks go down. Not quite enough. Blinkstalker trying to get up on them, but wasn't able able to actually do so, and we're actually going to see Happy lift this off and do some harassment with this, and there you go. A little windfall, if you will. Picking up his troops and going to be dropping to harass. Now, even though he's going to do some damage here and try to take out a couple of these mining bases, he does have this one main mining base. You can see Socke is very close. Socke also, of course, had that opportunity to go for a counterattack as well. Seems like that DT harassment has subsided, not seeing it as much as we were prior to this point. And here we go, Stim going down. Going to take down as many workers as possible. Then going to try to work on this Nexus. Needs to be careful because the main force here of Socke is moving from the backside. One Marine moving back to check for that, and there we go. He sees it. Dropping down that Nexus. Going to pick up his units and head out. Please do so. Please do so. Pick up your units and head out. Blink Stalker is going to start taking out a lot of these medevacs. Medevacs trying to push back. There are just too many for them to actually target fire the correct ones, though, so the medevacs are actually going to make it away. And trying to move down with a couple of his units, but unfortunately with those Colossus being able to go right over the ledge, as well as these Warpins over here from Socke, he's going to be forced to push back right now. And this is not looking good right now for Happy. Happy's in danger of losing all of these medevacs. This is a lot of resources. Nice feedback going down. Some more damage going down on these medevacs. We can see some of these medevacs very, very low. He really, really does not want to lose this. This is a lot of army supply. It's a lot of resources that he's spent as well that he can't afford to lose it at all. Taking a look at his resources, Happy is so low right now, pretty much primarily because he hasn't taken this base, and he still has this base as well. So, unfortunately for Happy, not maintaining up this expanding as much and as effectively as Socke has, he hasn't been able to defend his base. We did see he lost his base over here, and again, he hasn't gotten it up since then, and that could be his demise. You can see how low he is right now. Let's take a look. Happy is quite a bit lower in the army supply here as well, 100 to 165. So Socke in a very commanding position right now. Happy is pretty much going to rely on this expo. He's all but mined out pretty much everywhere. Actually, no, he does have quite a few left over here, and he does have some over here, but even that's pretty much like 2.5 mining bases, and that is it. He does want to make sure he has at least 3 of those, especially considering the fact that Socke pretty much has that going on for him as well. He's got a lot of resources still pulled up because he's been sitting at 200 for quite some time, and he does have this mining base up here as well. And actually, Socke's going to look to expand up here, hilariously enough. Happy's not going to take it, so Socke's like, hell, if you don't want it, then I'll take it. He's going to, well, that's pretty hilarious if he actually manages to get up that expo. Because technically, based on their spawning positions and how the game's progressed, that is not his side of the map at all. This, by all intents and purposes, should be Happy's expansion. But if again, Happy's not taking it, so Socke's going to feel free to go ahead and do it for him. Moving out with a couple ghosts right there. Great EMP. Really good spawning here from Happy of making sure he's grabbing all of those cloak units. He's done a really good job of EMPing those DT as well as those observers pretty much this entire game. Now, Happy, as I mentioned, is in a dangerous position, 126 to 165. He cannot afford an engagement right now. I mean, he'd have to get really basically lucky with his unit positioning and just the way the engagement played out, because it's not looking good. He is managing to actually re-up, but still very, very low on resources. So after any next battle that comes, he's gonna be very hard pressed to actually continue up and keep up with what Socke is able to produce. You can see again so many gateways. He's sitting on quite a few robos as well, and he can re-up his army so very quickly. And here we go, push coming down from Socke. Scan moving down there from Happy, seeing all those forces. Very nice EMP going down. Needs to be careful. Doesn't want to get those Colossus caught out of position. Doesn't want to push too far forward. And actually going to be hot on the pursuit here of these ghosts. Blink going down, trying to catch him. There we go. Viking turning around, trying to force back those Colossus. Wonderful play there, stimming back and pushing back his units there as well. And actually those cloaked ghosts moving down, getting a few snipes, a few extra shots there as well as some EMPs. And those EMPs, pretty much those blanket EMPs on the forces of Socke, you can see the shields there of these units just almost all gone. And that's basically what he wants to avoid. He doesn't really want to engage after losing the majority of his shields. But what he can do, and this is precisely what we are seeing Socke do, is just push back. You lose your shields, push back, let them recharge, and then wait to engage. Your shields are going to recharge faster than that effective energy can of those ghosts. So finally, we do see Happy has finally started mining at this base, and this is precisely what he needs to do. But look at this, Socke with perfect timing, going to be moving right on down. If he, of course, did have that one stalker down here, so he did know this expo was coming from Happy, and he's going to be dropping this. I think he's going to be able to blink right under that for the last few shots. Is he going to do it? No, just going to actually let that burn down to death, and never mind. There we go. Finally pushing forward, getting that last shot off, and that command center is gone, and that is basically not good at all for Happy. That's pretty much the last thing that he wanted to happen. Needs to be very careful, forced to push back those Colossus. Blink stalkers moving forward to take out those Vikings. This may be an engagement right now. With both players just need to be careful about where they engage. Both of them pretty much at about the same supply right now. And actually, no, Socke does have a big advantage, 165 to 134. So there you go. Needs to be very, very careful with his units. Happy does not want to engage when he's so far behind, in all honesty. He does have those EMPs, which are going to help quite a bit, but I just don't think he has enough to deal at this point with what Socke has, so he's going to want to make sure he gets closer to 200 before he actually goes ahead and pushes up against that army. Again, it's just very, very dangerous. You can see both players trying to maintain control of whatever Xel'Nagas they can. We do have this high Templar over here, and I really like that, being able to get a Storm down, or maybe even a couple of feedbacks on any units that try to push up against you is definitely something that can be very effective. And look at this, unbelievable. Socke is indeed going for this Expo, just absolutely hilarious. The fact if he actually gets that up and running, so happy knowing that the Expo is going down. He did have that SCV scout move on in. He's going to be pushing to engage, and knowing the fact that this is happening, we are seeing Socke right now push down with his army, so he's actually getting ready to engage this, and this could be very dangerous because these are very narrow pathways here, and this is very, very advantageous for a Protoss army with such a heavy Colossus count. So Happy does manage to drop the base, but at the same time, here comes the forces of Socke. Socke moving forward with the Delots, taking a few MPs down, moving on down, trying to get a couple of doesn't manage to get any storms down. Did get sniped down by all of those ghosts that were sitting there. So Socke actually looking to push back, and finally looks like we are going to see, look at all those High Templars coming just for feedbacks. You can't storm anymore right away, of course, once that we lost that Kadirian amulet, but here we go, big engagement coming on down, moving forward with some Archons, big EMPs going down. There are a lot of Colossus, but is it enough? Lots of storms going down, shredding through that Bio army, and there's still so many Colossus into play. The Bio army is getting dropped. There are enough Stalkers to take care of the Vikings. Happy losing pretty much everything here, and he is not going to be able to expand right now. He lost pretty much his entire army. In fact, I think he lost every single unit that he had. Taking a look at the army tab, he does have 41 army supply, but where is it? Where did this base? Okay, I'm guessing it got lifted off. At least I hope it didn't get attacked and I just completely missed it. So lost pretty much everything in that engagement. Very nice play there by Socke. He had the superior force, and he had the numbers basically in his favor. And at this point in the game, when those resource counts so low, Happy's just been in a really bad spot because he hasn't managed to keep up this Expo. And the Stalker moving on down, going to be spotting this attempted Expo, and he could actually move right under and prevent that from even landing, at least for a short time. Got to be incredibly frustrating here for Happy. Happy trying to move on down with some. There we go, actually landing it away from an ideal position, and gonna probably just trying to get us around with those SCVs. Or is he just gonna ignore it? I hope he doesn't just I hope he doesn't just ignore it. I hope he actually kills that Stalker that's basically tearing through all of his SCVs. That would be quite nice. He does have a couple units over here. He's getting ready for a possible engagement, and still the Stalker just going to town on these SCVs. Apparently Happy just not paying quite enough attention. EMPs going on those Colossus. They're doing what he can. Another EMP going to the main force, but there's such a huge army here on the backside and blinking right into and just chopping up all of that Bio army. And look at that. There you have it, guys. Happy does GG. So what a game number 2. My God, that was almost an hour in-game time. That is quite intense, but I will make sure that I do go ahead and cast game number 3 for you in just one moment. We are 1-1 in this best-of-3 series, so game number 3 is going to be the deciding battle. Let's see who actually pulls through. I don't really know what else to say about this game. This was just pretty nuts. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the cast. As always, if you do, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Keep watching and keep owning.